Yo book nerds, I have finally finished reading 11/22/63 by Stephen King, and oh my gosh, did I love it. This is about 850 pages, and it took me exactly 2 months to read this book, which is pretty fast for me. I did not expect to love this book as much as I did. I have only ever read one other Stephen King book, which is right here, which is Different Seasons, which is a collection of 4 novellas. And this did not give me like any idea of just how great of a writer Stephen King is. So this was just like getting my feet wet, but oh my gosh, was this book incredible. So what I know Stephen King to be is a horror writer, which I know he writes other things, but like I haven't read anything really by him. And so going into this, like I was kind of expecting horror, but it's not. It is definitely sci-fi. It has some elements of horror and mystery, and it has elements of romance, which I was not expecting at all. So sci-fi is not something I read a ton of, and when I do, I'm very critical of it. To read a book that is sci-fi, that has time travel in it, which I am especially critical of, to find something with those elements that I actually really enjoyed was awesome. And then to get a love story pretty much out of Stephen King was definitely like the last thing I expected. And I just had so much fun with this. But this book is really heavy, so I'm not gonna hold it up the whole video. We'll just set it up here so you can see it so I don't have to hold it the whole time. So there's a couple of reasons why I had decided to pick this book up. I have had this book on my physical TBR for years, and my Uncle Juan had recommended it to me, and I bought it years ago when he recommended it to me, but then my Uncle Juan ended up passing away from cancer, and this was the last book he recommended to me. And like I couldn't get myself to actually read it because I knew it was the last book he had ever recommended to me, and by not reading it, I felt kind of like he was still recommending me books, like I still had something to look forward to from him. So it's like really hard to like finally get myself to read it. But I'm so glad that I did. I kind of did a buddy read with Taylor. Taylor's not finished yet. I kind of left him behind because I seriously couldn't put the book down. But Taylor has already seen the miniseries for it, so he knows what happens. And he really wanted me to read the book because he wants me to watch the show. And so I can't wait to go watch the show now. I've heard it's really good. But I'm so glad that I got to read the book first. I'm going to talk about the book, but I'm going to try not to give like spoilers. But if you don't want to know like anything at all, then I guess a heads up. But I'm not going to like give away the ending or anything like that. So the premise of this story is that basically Jake Epping, our main character, finds a way to travel back in time. And he can only travel back to a specific year. And he decides that, with some other influences, he decides that he is going to stop the JFK assassination. He has to stay in the past for a few years until the assassination approaches, and so he kind of develops this life in the past. I really struggle with like time travel stories. You really have to be able to like suspend reality to believe in them, and I really struggle with that. And I was able to do it pretty easily with this book because the dynamics of the time travel they're constructed in a way that I could believe them. Like they made sense, there were rules, they stuck to the rules. I liked that. Some other time travel stories that I've read have been kind of all over the place, and that's why I haven't liked them. So I did enjoy the time travel part of it. He's in the late 50s, early 60s, and I love that era. It was very fun to read. While Jake is in the past, he develops a romantic relationship with a woman named Sadie. And I really, really liked Sadie. I actually could relate a lot to her. I could relate to her because she's very tall. I'm pretty tall. She's kind of klutzy, so am I. But also she has a bad experience with marriage that has shaped like the way that she lives, and that is very much part of my story. So I won't get too into detail on that, but like I really could relate to Sadie. And so when Jake Epping comes into Sadie's life, she's, you know, kind of hesitant. She is curious about him and she knows there's something different about him, but she doesn't know what. It's very, very fun to read about their relationship and to watch Sadie kind of grow and learn to explore herself and become who she wants to be and not define herself by her past, which I love personally because in recent years I've been doing kind of the same thing, exploring myself and not defining myself by my past marriage and relationships. And so, yeah, I really could relate to Sadie. But back to Jake. Jake Epping, he is a good guy, but he's not all good. And that's why he's a very interesting main character. He tells lies to Sadie to, in his mind, protect her, which I actually like got like really mad at him for, because I don't care why you're lying. You shouldn't lie to the person that you're with. And so like sometimes you don't always like Jake Epping, but he is overall a good character and he's trying to do his very best to make the world a better place. And this book like is so long, but it reads really quickly, and like you don't get to the assassination of JFK until like the end of the book, but it doesn't feel drug out at the same time. When I actually finished the book, I was like, how can it be over? I want more. And I couldn't believe that I was saying that about an 850-page book. So like that tells you a lot right there, that like everything is fleshed out, but it's not drug out. When it comes to the actual ending of the story, I won't spoil anything, but I feel like it was a little bit rushed. But I do understand like the need to wrap things up because again, it is a very long novel. But I feel like it could have been fleshed out just a little bit more, the last like 100 pages or so. The way things end with Jake and Sadie, like I again won't spoil, but I feel like Sadie's character ended in a way that didn't fully fit her. Like it seemed like she was a little too larger than life, and maybe that was just me. If you've read the book, you'll know what I mean by that. But it was still very satisfying, and I felt like the ending was the ending that was supposed to happen. I didn't feel cheated, or it didn't feel like a typical, like, predictable romance story. But overall, I really loved the book, and the ending was satisfying, even though I felt it was a little bit rushed. The ending was very satisfying, and honestly, like, there were times that this book, like, got me choked up, and I would be reading, and Taylor would look over at me and be like, "Are you okay?" And I would be like, "It's sad." It didn't make me cry, but I was pretty close to crying a couple of times. And it's really hard to make me cry when I'm reading. I don't know that I've ever actually cried from a book, but I've come close, and this one was very close. 5 stars, honestly. I think it took me so long to read Stephen King because I was kind of afraid that Stephen King would be like overhyped and that I wouldn't enjoy it as much as everyone says, like that he wouldn't be as good as everyone says. But I was so wrong, and I can't wait to read more Stephen King in the future. I have some more of his books on my physical TBR, so I can't wait to get to them. And I just can't recommend this book enough. If you haven't read it, you should. I know it's long. When I started it, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I getting myself into? This book is huge. Like, the pages are huge, and it's so long. So, like, yeah, I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to get myself into? This is going to take me forever. But it really doesn't. It goes really fast. Let me know if you agree with my opinion on 11/22/63. I think it's great. I think everyone should read it. Even if you're not a sci-fi or Stephen King fan, like, I think you should give this a try. I think it is great. And let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you didn't enjoy it, let me know why. So now I have started something. I am now reading The Mysterious Stranger and Other Stories by Mark Twain. This book is 4 short stories, and it is extremely short. And so I thought it would be good, after reading this big beast of a book, to have kind of a little palate cleanser before I get into anything else. I have already finished one of the short stories, and I'm on the second one. And the first one was really cute and adorable and silly. And so I'm excited to read the rest of these. If you've read these, let me know if you enjoyed them. That's all for me this week. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And head on over to my Facebook if you'd like to see more content from me throughout the week. I'll see you guys next Monday. Thanks for talking books with me.